This is episode 3, and my name is Will Keys, and I call myself the Antipodean, which simply means somebody that is from Australia or New Zealand. Now, I'm wearing a New Zealand jacket thing, but I'm actually from Brisbane, and I support the Wallabies, although I think the New Zealanders play great rugby. Today is the 19th of August 2015, and the time is 12 noon. What I'd like to do is to start off with a few comments about international news, and then I'll move on to discuss a matter which is of interest to me personally. So, the massacre in Barcelona, ISIS has taken responsibility for it, and the choice of weapon is a vehicle, which has become a MO, a modus operandi for ISIS. Interesting that Wolf Blitzer of CNN tries to string a wrong bow and equate what happened in Barcelona with what happened in Charlottesville, because a vehicle was used. Ridiculous analysis. But we have to accept that we are facing an existential threat from an ideology based upon a religion, and that the sooner we get to understand our enemy, as the Chinese general Sun Tzu said, that one should know one's enemy. And our enemy are those that would wish to kill us. We are the infidels, and they believe that they're on a calling from God to rid the world of infidels, and we are in their way. So the sooner we get that into our heads, the better. Of course, the left wing in the world is not helping the problem. And that takes us to the second matter for discussion, which is in Charlottesville, the riots there. A young lady lost her life. And the person that killed the young lady is a man. Apparently he was in the camp for the white nationalists, let's call it that. But he is responsible. The individual who did the act is responsible. So what happened at Charlottesville? Now, I start with a comment that you either believe in free speech or you don't. Now, free speech does not include violence. You can't have free speech if there's violence included, because nobody's going to talk freely if they're going to suffer violence. So we should believe in a representative democracy, that we tolerate other people's speech. We don't have to agree with it, we don't have to listen to it, but we must tolerate it. It's what is the essence of a democracy. It's amazing that the mainstream media are the people that don't seem to get that. So in Charlottesville you had a group, let's call them the white nationalists, that applied for a permit to protest, and they were protesting the removal of a statue of a Confederate general, Robert E. Lee, and they were doing it lawfully. They were exercising their free speech. Now, it doesn't matter that a whole lot of people, particularly African Americans, oppose the Confederate politics of Robert E. Lee. It's ridiculous. One has to view history from the lens of the customs and the traditions and the times in which those events took place. if you view history from any other perspective, it'll be jaundiced. And you can't change history. It is what's already there. Having said that, the group that calls itself Antifa, which apparently stands for anti-fascist, but it is anything but anti-fascist. It is in fact fascist. They look like fascists. They act like fascists. They cover their faces like fascists. They're ignorant. They're intolerant. And they're no better than the white nationalists. Why should I have to accept that the fascists on the left, the liberal fascists, are any better than the liberal fascists, than the white nationalists, or sort of fascists themselves on the right? I don't. They're all evil people who will not tolerate anybody else's view but their own. But I accept that the left, as well as the right, must be given the freedom of speech. And that makes me a civilized man and then uncivilized. So, having had my little talk about the news of the day, I want to move on to talk about something which interests me, and that's the Antikythera mechanism. What is the Antikythera mechanism? The Antikythera mechanism was a mechanism that was invented some 2,300 years ago. Over 100 years ago, in October, turn of the century, 19th century, a team of sponge divers took refuge in a bay on the south side of the Greek island of Antikythera. And a storm was coming up, and they had calm waters where they settled, and so they decided to see what was below the surface, and they went down 60 meters. In those days it was canvas and a copper metal helmet, and the diver quickly requested to be pulled up to the top and reported that he had seen all sorts of strange bodies. The captain of the sponge boat then went down and returned with an arm, the copper arm of a ancient Greek statue. And so that was the discovery of the site of the Antikythera mechanism. It's with the site of where an ancient Roman galley had gone down some 200 years BC. But in part of that, what they brought up, they recovered, the archaeological authorities in Athens and the Hellenic Navy helped them. They brought up all these wonderful pieces of objet d'art, and part of that was a bronze mechanism that appeared to have clock gearing at the center. People initially thought, well, it must be something very modern because they wouldn't have had that sort of intricacy 2,200 years ago. But an examination, the dating of it, showed that it was in actual fact an artifact in antiquity. It took 100 years before the technology got to a point where they could actually x-ray the interior and find out what it was. And it has been mind-blowing. It was actually a cosmological instrument with knobs on it, gearing based upon prime numbers, and it was an instrument to work out the eclipses of the moon. In those days, the view of the universe was geocentric, and that was the Earth was the center of the universe. Only when Copernicus, Galileo came along did the concept of a heliocentric universe take hold. In any event, there's nothing simple about a universe where they can see 6 planets, they can only see 6 planets, and that they considered that the Earth was the center. And they examined the rotation of the moon around the Earth. A lot of society was based upon the phases of the moon. Agriculture, in fact, contracts could be made certain by that process. You would say that certain things had happened by the next full moon, or the next half moon, etc. In any event, the moon doesn't move around the Earth in a perfect circle. It takes a 9-year cycle, elliptical cycle, which moves up and down. And that all had to be translated into a mechanical device that would enable the users to predict the eclipses of the moon to the minute. Absolutely astounding. And if that doesn't impress you, nothing will.